It's Gab, and you know what? For this movie review, I'm going to try to use a bit more of my brain capacity than I usually do. This is the new Luc Besson film with Scarlett Johansson called Lucy. Lucy, Scarlett Johansson's character, is a young, non-interesting-ish female minding her own business, an average female, if you will, and through various plot twists and points and machinations that are irrelevant, pretty much. She ends up with a synthetic drug in her system against her will that is something that expands your brain's consciousness and capacity to access its full capacity. So if the average human uses 10% of their brain, supposedly, as soon as this happens to her, she's already at 30, and the way that it works, the way that the neurons interact, they continue to expand as they absorb and continue to push for 100%. So the timeline of the film is you're sort of following her ascent to 100% of brain capability. This apparently has a timeline attached to it of her supposed perhaps demise at 100%. So there's a bit of a ticking clock for her to do what exactly? To be able to share the knowledge that she's gaining, to be able to get revenge on the criminal syndicate that has put her in this situation with this drug, and to reach out to Professor Morgan Freeman to for a little philosophizing, interacting, to sort of try to give this some sort of philosophical weight of what it means to be human and the quest for knowledge and to pass it on and for ultimate survival. I mean, pretty heady, large topics in a very ridiculous, small, tacky package. Recently, there was a film a couple years ago, Limitless, with Bradley Cooper, where he takes a drug that expands his mind. I was not a fan of that film. Check out my review at the time. But that, compared to Lucy, is like the Shakespeare of drug mind expansion films. And thematically, you know, back to 2001, you know, there's a list as long as my arm of films that have touched on these various themes, even, you know, what it means to be human, etc., even with Dawn of Planet of the Apes recently, even with Under the Skin, which is a far superior, more interesting Scarlett Johansson film this summer. Her performance in this film is quite similar with that sort of blank, inquisitive, you know, beautiful yet confused and deadly visage of hers, but here it's just an excuse. She's just a stand-in for sort of a fetishistic, not even an action chick. I mean, there's maybe one scene where she kicks ass physically, and the rest of it is like this swiping effect. You know, touch screen. She just sort of moves people out of the way without touching them, and it looks really ridiculous. I mean, besides from the premise, which I find ridiculous, it just wasn't at all believable. Not that I feel it has to be scientifically believable, but when they try to explain the concept of what this drug does to her mind, and a human mind at greater capacity, we can move things without touching them, really. We can see, you know, what's going on inside. We have x-ray vision when we use more of our brain. I mean, I don't know what the scientific basis is, but it really seemed too far-fetched to even, you know, to let go for me. I couldn't get past it. And what I couldn't get past was the visual interpretation of this concept, which was these pretty cheesy special effects that were supposed to be demonstrating what's going on inside of her and what she can see. And these effects and this whole sort of approach may have been fit in sort of the Matrix years of films, but in this era, I think most people who, you know, have a smartphone and see lots of movies are going to find it pretty eye-rolling, as I did. And there was just, so, I mean, it's hard to find anything to recommend in this film other than 90 minutes of you know, the snickering effect, which, you know, some people find that's all they need, and if I'd seen it with my father, it would have been more fun to snicker at it together, but he's much too smart to see films like these with me anymore, unfortunately. I give Lucy 2 Gabs out of 5. Be smart and skip it.